The sobs came from below the old stone well, not an animal, but a voice, raw and hollow. Samuel Reed lowered his oil lantern on a rope, its glow slicing through the dark shaft. The light caught mossy stones and black water, and then green fingers clutching the inner wall. They were slender, a woman's hand, knuckles white, trembling with a strength that was almost gone. The lantern revealed her face, green skin, dark hair plastered wet, large eyes wide and brimmed with tears.
She wasn't a victim of a fall. She's been hiding down here for days.
He heaved, muscles burning, until she spilled over the stone rim and collapsed onto the grass. She lay soaked and shivering, her purple silk gown torn and sodden, a silver circlet askew on her brow. Samuel pulled off his wool cloak and wrapped it around her, the rough fabric instantly darkening with moisture. She stared up, silent. He saw a terror deeper than the well's cold, and a secret she couldn't yet speak. He uncorked the canteen and held it toward her, the leather damp with condensation. She flinched back, eyes darting. Slowly, her fingers closed around it. She drank in shallow, guarded sips, as if expecting poison. He asked her name. She stiffened and said nothing, her jaw tight.
Silence is safer for her. I can see it. But it's also a wall I can't climb. There's a town in our east. We need to move before full dark.
She gave a single nod. He hauled her upright, and together they stumbled toward the road. Behind them, the well receded into shadow. Ahead, the last light bled orange across the hills. He noticed the circlet again, silver with tiny emeralds, a noble's ornament. She wasn't just any orc. They walked in the heavy silence of two strangers bound by a secret neither understood. He didn't ask again. Some truths had to be earned, not demanded. The road ahead was long enough. A low rumble swelled under the wind. Hooves, distant but growing, too many to be a lone rider. Mokra froze mid-stride, her face draining of color. Her hand shot out and clamped onto Samuel's wrist. She yanked him sideways off the road. They tumbled into a shallow ditch, brambles clawing at their clothes. Crouched in the mud, Samuel felt her whole body trembling against his side, her breath sharp and uneven.
Who are they?
If they find me, they will kill us both.
The thunder of hooves pounded past, orc soldiers in scratched leather, their guttural shouts slicing the air. They swept on without slowing, fading into the twilight, leaving a cloud of dust that stung their eyes.
She's not just hiding. She's a fugitive with a death mark. And now I am part of it.
Samuel pulled her to her feet without a word. The road ahead looked longer now, and far more dangerous. The town's lamps guided them to the Wayfarer's Rest, its sign creaking in the night breeze. Samuel traded coins for a key, the innkeeper too tired to note the cloaked orc behind him. They climbed to a cramped room with two narrow beds and a single candle flickering on the table. Mokra lifted the silver circlet from her hair, cradling it in her lap like a fragile relic. Samuel saw the emeralds spark, a royal emblem he'd only glimpsed in passing caravans. His breath caught.
She's not just a noble woman. That circlet marks her as something far more dangerous. If those riders return, they'll burn this inn to the ground to find her.
He settled onto the stool and began sharpening his knife, the rhythmic scrape breaking the tense silence. Samuel glanced at her, still seeing the girl who'd clung to a mossy wall and refused to speak a single word. She didn't look up. Whatever secret the circlet held was hers alone. For now, dawn came gray and cold. They slipped out of the inn before the town stirred. On the open road, Samuel broke the silence with a memory.
Years ago, an orc traveler came to my forge in a storm, a broken sword and no coin.
Mokra's steps slowed. Her head turned slightly, her tusks pressing into her lip.
She refused to take the blade for free. So she gave me a sealed writ instead. I still have it.
A writ? She made you promise something?
The words came out too fast, too sharp, her regal composure cracking for the first time.
No promise, just a document. I never understood why.
Mokra looked away, but her fingers brushed the circlet hidden under her cloak.
That story meant something to her. Something personal.
The dust cloud on the horizon sharpened into a column of riders, a green and gold banner snapping at the lead. Mokra stumbled back, her hand flying to her throat, but then she hesitated. Not the regent's men. The riders encircled them with a disciplined halt, dust swirling. A scarred captain swung down and strode forward.
You are Samuel Reed, the blacksmith who reforged a queen's blade in a storm.
How can he know that? The queen.
The captain dropped to one knee, fist over his chest, head bowed.
By the queen's own writ, I recognize you, writ holder. Your word is law in these lands.
Samuel's mind blanked. That forgotten paper in his pack? It had never meant anything. Until now. Beside him, Mokra stood rigid. Her circlet glinted in the sun, and for the first time, she did not hide it.
I am Captain Dern, and it seems, writ holder, you have found our lost princess.
The word writ yanked Samuel back to a storm-lashed night 5 years ago, when his forge was a sanctuary for one desperate traveler. Rain hammered the roof as a cloaked figure pushed through the door, water pouring off the wool.
I need this blade whole again, tonight.
She laid a shattered longsword on his anvil. The break was clean, a ceremonial blade, not a common soldier's. Samuel worked through the night, sparks flying as the steel softened and refused under his hammer.
It's done. No charge.
She ignored his refusal and pulled a parchment scroll from her cloak, green wax seal intact.
This is worth more than coin. One day you may need what it commands. Keep it safe.
He took the writ, studied the unfamiliar crest, and tucked it away, a curiosity he never expected to use. The memory faded, leaving Samuel blinking in the sunlight, the weight of that forgotten paper suddenly crushing. Samuel reached into his pack and withdrew a worn leather pouch, his fingers unsteady, the parchment unrolled, the green wax seal of Throvash glinting in the midday sun.
The queen's own hand, genuine. It grants asylum, command over our forces, and the right to shelter any who seek it.
Samuel stared at the ancient ink. The realization struck deeper than any hammer blow.
Then, he can grant me asylum? Legally.
With this writ, no one, not even the regent, may touch you, princess.
Mokra's breath hitched. The girl from the well looked at the blacksmith with a fragile, desperate hope. She didn't speak, but the question hung in the dusty air between them, heavy and unanswered.
I never asked for this power. But now, her life rests on the 6 words I am about to say.
Mokra's composure finally shattered. Tears cut tracks through the dust on her cheeks as she whispered the truth.
My father's regent murdered him and took the throne. I only escaped because a servant hid me in a laundry cart.
She clutched the circlet like a talisman, her voice cracking.
He's plastered my face across the kingdom, like a common criminal.
A wanted poster fluttered on a tree behind them, the sketch crude but unmistakable.
Princess, the regent's hunters are only hours behind us. They won't honor the writ if they catch you alone.
Samuel looked at the wanted poster, at the girl beside him, and understood the impossible weight she'd been carrying.
She wasn't just afraid of dying. She carried the shame of her whole kingdom turning against her.
Mokra's hands trembled so violently, the circlet slipped from her grip and clinked against the dirt. Samuel stepped forward, placing a protective arm in front of Mokra. Without thinking, the writ gave him authority, but the regent's hunters only respected steel.
By the queen's own writ, I claim asylum for Princess Mokra, Throvash under my protection.
It is recorded, writ holder. May the ancestors watch over you both. They won't honor the writ if they catch you. We'll buy you time. Go now.
Samuel pulled Mokra from the road and into the dense forest, the captain's last order echoing behind them. Branches whipped his face, but he didn't stop until the distant shouts of the soldiers faded.
Where are we going? We can't outrun them forever.
Port Thorn, the coast. The writ will command a ship, and we'll find your mother.
Behind them, the captain's men formed a skirmish line, buying precious minutes before the hunters arrived.
We have a head start, but it won't last. She's counting on me now.
They fled into the darkening forest, the writ a fragile shield against sharpened steel and colder ambitions. For hours they pushed through the wilderness, the forest floor a treacherous snarl of roots and dead leaves. Mokra's knee buckled. She pitched forward, and Samuel barely caught her before she hit the ground.
Leave me. I am slowing you down.
Not a chance. We're only a day from the coast. You can make it.
He uncorked his canteen and pressed it into her hands. The water was warm and metallic, but it was the last he had.
She's running on nothing but fear, and fear only carries you so far.
A low horn cut through the forest air, distant but unmistakable. It was answered by another, closer. Hunting horns. The Regent's trackers had found their trail.
They're only minutes behind us now.
Then we move faster. We don't stop until we see the sea.
Arrows sliced through the air, a sudden deadly whisper that broke the forest's silence. Samuel threw Mokra behind a massive oak, shielding her with his body as shafts thudded into the bark. A second volley tore through the leaves. Dark shapes moved between the trees. At least 6 soldiers. Mokra snatched a thick fallen branch, her knuckles white, her breath ragged and loud.
Stay low and don't move. They'll charge once the arrows stop.
They were pinned behind a mossy log, the Regent's soldiers advancing with swords drawn.
I can't die in these woods, Samuel. Not after you pulled me from that well.
We're getting out of this together. I swear it.
Another arrow splintered into the log inches from Samuel's head, a brutal reminder of the closing trap.
A loose boulder above the gully. If I can trigger a rock slide, it might buy us enough time to reach the coast.
Samuel's eyes locked onto a granite slab balanced on the gully's edge, a natural trap waiting to be sprung.
Cover your ears and stay down.
He hurled a fist-sized stone at the slab. A heartbeat later, the entire gully roared. Boulders crashed down the slope, scattering the soldiers and filling the air with choking dust. Samuel grabbed Mokra's hand and sprinted, the sound of pursuit swallowed by the landslide's thunder. Hours later, they collapsed in a hidden hollow. A small fire pushed back the cold, and silence offered fragile safety. Mokra's hands trembled as she tore a strip from her already ruined gown and pressed it against a gash on Samuel's arm.
You are bleeding. That rock slide nearly took you with it.
A scratch. You are the one who matters tonight.
In the flickering light, she saw not a blacksmith but a shield. He saw not a princess but a survivor. They broke camp at first light, the salty tang of the sea pulling them forward like a lifeline. Port Thorn's gates loomed, but so did a checkpoint bristling with Regent's soldiers and a rough wooden barrier. Samuel pulled Mokra's hood lower, hiding her circlet. He tucked the writ into his belt where it could be seen. A guard stepped forward, his hand resting on his sword hilt. The guard demanded their business, his tone flat and unwelcoming.
I am here under the authority of the Queen's writ. Let us through.
Samuel held up the parchment, the green wax seal catching the morning light. The guard squinted at the crest, then stepped back, uncertainty flickering across his face. Without another word, he waved them past the barrier and into the bustling docks. They moved quickly, but Samuel felt eyes on them. The writ couldn't stop whispers or a knife in the dark. They found the harbor master's booth, a cluttered shack reeking of salt and old timber, and Samuel leaned over the counter.
I need a boat to the Sea Queen, the Queen's flagship. It's anchored beyond the harbor.
The harbor master, a grizzled human, didn't look up. Full lockdown, no boats leave without the Regent's seal.
I have something stronger than his seal. Read this.
Samuel unrolled the writ, and the grimy shack seemed to shrink as the harbor master's eyes widened at the royal crest. The man's voice cracked. The Queen's own hand. I'll fetch a skiff at once. No charge. Minutes later, Samuel rowed a small boat into the choppy sea. Mokra huddled in the bow, her hood finally down.
We're actually going to find her. I thought the well would be my grave.
The Sea Queen emerged from the morning mist, a majestic galleon, the Throvash banner streaming from its mast. Samuel rowed harder, muscles burning, as a figure on the deck turned and looked down at them, sharp, regal, and impossibly familiar. A rope ladder splashed down, and Mokra climbed with desperate speed, Samuel steadying it from below. As Mokra's feet hit the deck, Queen Vishara surged forward, her scarred face breaking open with raw, unguarded relief.
Mokra, my daughter, my heart, I thought I'd lost you to the well or the sword.
A blacksmith pulled me from the darkness, Mother. He used your writ.
The Queen's gaze lifted to Samuel, who stood on the ladder, seawater dripping from his clothes. Her hand touched the scar on her cheek, the same scar she'd worn that storm-soaked night 5 years ago.
The blacksmith who refused payment, the one who reforged my father's sword in a single night.
You were the traveler in the storm. I never knew.
Queen Vashara held Mokra with one arm and extended the other toward Samuel, her voice thick with gratitude.
You didn't just save a princess tonight, blacksmith. You saved a mother's world.
In the captain's cabin, Queen Vashara unrolled a map of troop positions. Her voice was flat with anger.
The regent holds the capital with 1,000 swords. We need more than words to reclaim it.
Give me a forge. I'll craft blades all night. But I stay with Mokra.
She will need a protector. Stand with her and you will earn more than my thanks.
Within the hour, a portable forge roared on the deck, the bellows feeding white-hot coals. Samuel hammered the first steel bar, each blow scattering sparks into the salt wind.
For once, I am making something that might save a kingdom.
Mokra watched from the cabin door, her circlet glinting, her face unreadable.
He could have left me in the well. He didn't. He could have run from the arrows. He didn't.
When the first sword cooled in the brine, the queen climbed down and asked what reward he sought.
Name your reward, blacksmith. I owe you more than gold.
Keeping her safe was the only payment I needed, Your Majesty.
Then I will name it for you. Samuel Reed. I name you Sworn Shield to Princess Mokra Throvash.
The weight of the ancient title settled over the deck. Mokra's breath caught, her circlet trembling.
Know that in our tradition, the Sworn Shield is the bond that precedes betrothal. Do you accept?
Betrothal. I pulled her from a well, and now I am bound to her in a way I never imagined.
Mokra nodded, her dark eyes holding his. There was no fear in them now, only a quiet, steady joy.
I accept. I'll be her shield, and if the ancestors will it, more.
Queen Vashara placed the ornate shield into his hands, and the ship erupted in a roar of approval from the crew. In that moment, a blacksmith who had only sought to refill his canteen became the heart of a kingdom's hope. Within a week, the Loyalist fleet anchored at the capital. Samuel's anvil had armed a small army.
Loyal soldiers, the time has come. For our true crown, and for the writ holder who saved my daughter.
The throne room doors burst open. Loyalists surged in, the writ held high, and the regent's men knelt.
The regent is cornered in the eastern tower. He has no escape.
Samuel and Mokra followed, their bond a symbol that cut deeper than any sword. The regent knelt in chains, his crown shattered at his feet.
For treason and murder, you are stripped of all titles. Justice comes swift.
The crowd erupted, throwing petals as the regent was dragged from the hall.
This victory was won by more than steel. It was won by a kindness repaid 5 years later.
The throne room, once a den of usurpers, now held a queen, a princess, and the blacksmith who had bound them all. Queen Vashara raised her scepter, and the court fell silent. Let it be witnessed.
Samuel Reed, you have proven your worth in steel and spirit. I now bind you to my daughter under the old oath.
Samuel and Mokra knelt, their hands touching the cool stone. Her circlet caught the stained glass light. No longer askew, they exchanged bracelets, delicate silver for her, woven green for him, each thread a promise.
I was at the bottom of a well. Now I am at the top of the world.
And I'd lower that lantern 1,000 times over, if it led me to this moment.
The court erupted in cheers, petals raining down as the old walls drank in the joy.
Rise, sworn shield and princess. Your union is the living writ, stronger than any parchment.
Sunlight flooded through the stained glass, painting the stone floor in emerald and gold. A blacksmith and a princess, born of stone and silk, now stood as one under the ancestors' gaze. They traveled back to the meadow where it all began, the old well waiting like a silent witness. Mokra's circlet, now perfectly straight, caught the morning light.
It looks smaller than I remember.
That's because you were looking up from the bottom.
He took her hand, and together they approached the stone rim. Samuel lit the lantern once more, the familiar glow warming his calloused palms.
This time, I am not lowering it to find you. I am lowering it to thank whatever led me here.
The lantern descended, its light dancing on the damp stones far below. Mokra rested her head against his shoulder, and for the first time, the well held no shadows. They stood in the sacred silence, the meadow stretching around them, the sun climbing higher. The rope had gone slack, the lantern kissing the water far below. Neither moved to pull it up. Mokra's voice was barely a whisper, meant only for the stones and the man beside her.
I used to think the darkness down there was the end of my story.
It was the first page.
She turned her head, pressing her forehead to his temple, tusks and all.
I'd do it again. Every step, every arrow, every night in the mud.
She didn't answer. She just stayed there, leaning into him while the wind moved the meadow. The lantern's glow still pulsed below, a coin of light in the dark, and the well, once a mouth of darkness, became a threshold of light. Two figures stood at its edge, and the future stretched before them, as wide as the sky.